Hi folks, it's Eamon from Urban here with you again just to run through a couple of the stories that cropped up over the weekend and a few interesting bits and bobs that I've found in my inbox and on my RSS feeds over the last few days. This is brilliant. The video game of Waiting for Godot. For anyone who's not familiar with the Samuel Beckett play, perhaps the game won't make quite as much sense, but this is exactly the type of silliness that I love on the internet. If you don't know what Waiting for Godot is, it's worth going and reading a little bit about it and watching this video. The play is kind of about, well, as the name suggests, waiting. But I just love the way that they've done this game, especially this next bit. Right, that's rather enough silliness, but it's a bit of a off the wall joke, which I always like. So worth having a look at that, and you can actually go and play the game on VectorBelly.com as well. I spent 7.5 hours playing it the other day. I think I'm probably the greatest in the world. On the Atlantic today, some news about the ACLU taking up the case of a Maryland man who went for an interview with the Department of Corrections in that state. And as part of the interview, they actually asked him for his Facebook login credentials so that they could check up on him. I know that I mentioned in a previous video about employers checking up on you on Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, as well as the IRS or the revenue commissioners or tax officials and various different people. But to actually ask for your Facebook login. I mean, I don't think the ACLU are far off the bat when they say it's a frightening and illegal invasion of privacy. I mean, I wonder what's next. Do they want the keys to your house maybe to come in and have a look around, make sure that everything is all right, that there's nothing untoward, there aren't too many cans of beer in your fridge, or that you're not eating too many fatty foods? So basically, should employers be allowed to ask for your Facebook login? The answer is no. Interesting story on CNN. Where researchers are developing skin printing system that could be used to treat soldiers wounded on the battlefield. Again, this ties in a little bit with what we talked about in terms of the singularity on a previous episode, and advances in technology that will someday potentially allow people to live forever. This is obviously incredible news for people who suffer burn injuries, not just on the battlefield but elsewhere. Back to technology and microblogging. One of the hot topics for a lot of people as well. How do you make money from Twitter, and how do Twitter make money? I'm sure Twitter have plenty of answers for that. But this is a really interesting idea that these people are now incubating accounts and getting them to a point where they have a couple of 100,000 followers and then selling them on. So you build your account up around various different verticals, so cars or pets or technology or music or something like this, and then you actually go out and say, well, I've got 200,000 followers. There are a bunch of services now, beamagpie.com, and there's a couple of others as well, who will pay you for tweets, and anyone who follows some celebrities will see that they occasionally shill for money. I mean, you can make a lot more than this if you're Melissa Joan Hart or someone equally as famous who's willing to promote a service, but that's still quite a lot of money. And the numbers are quite interesting as well. That one tweet from one of these large accounts with 200,000 followers was retweeted 20,000 times, got 18,000 unique views, and ended up generating 2,000 transactions, which is pretty good return on your investment. And I suspect it's probably not going to be long before we start seeing this a little bit more often. Again, coming back to something we mentioned before, the whole issue of Apple and the 30% subscription fee, and what does that mean? This is an interesting interview with the CEO of Audio, Radio, or however you want to pronounce it, the music streaming service that was launched by the guys behind Juiced and Skype. It's kind of an interesting interview in terms of talking about what have Netflix done. People don't need to own movies anymore. That shift happening in the music business as well, and that's definitely true. I mean, Spotify, Rhapsody, We7, all these kind of guys are out there. Audio, we'll see it, I'm sure, before too long on this side of the Atlantic, but seems to be going reasonably well over in the US. Someone who's going to go into the US, I'd imagine, if this story pans out, is Spotify. DST, the group who've invested in Zynga and Facebook and Twitter and a whole bunch of different people, are now valuing Spotify at $1 billion and looking at putting in potentially $100 million into Spotify, which one would imagine will be enough to allowed them to move into the US market. Spotify is hugely popular. I know a whole bunch of people that use it across Europe and elsewhere. It's certainly changed how I listen to new music and find new music, and playlists and everything else are amazing. They've done some good deals with Shazam and people like that recently as well. And if you haven't checked out Spotify, I suggest you do so. And if it's not available in your area, I would imagine that this $100 million from DST will mean that it will be before too long. Little website that came across my desk earlier today is Folding Story. I'm sure people remember from school you used to do these stories where everyone would write one sentence and then pass it on. It's just a really nice little idea where you get a whole bunch of people around and everyone writes their own sentence and creates a story out of it. So foldingstory.com if you want to get involved in that. I wonder how long it's going to be, if it takes off before a traditional publisher comes on board and publishes a little novella or book of short stories or something like that. Flash seminars, this is a really interesting idea as well. Flash mobs, I'm sure you've heard about before. Flash seminars is something that I suspect we'll hear a little bit more about over the next while. It's only really happening in the University of Virginia at the moment, but I suspect as it gets more and more coverage, I was in the Washington Post over the weekend, it's going to get a lot more popular elsewhere in the world. So, I mean, as the name suggests, there are mini classes announced a week in advance on different topics that, are reactive and talk about what's happening in the world around us. You get people in a small informal setting, talk about ideas, and I just think it's really, really interesting. If you could, imagine combining that with Google Maps or an app or something that would allow you to find out where to go for specific seminars or alert you of something happening in your locality. Before we finish up, The Astonishing Tribe is a company that was bought out by ORIM, Research in Motion, the people who were behind BlackBerry, obviously. They've now demoed some of their forthcoming BlackBerry Playbook apps, and they look absolutely amazing, no pun intended. Take a look at some of these. They're just really impressive, and thanks to Monty Munford for retweeting the...
Douglas here from Inside BlackBerry. We're in Barcelona for Mobile World Congress 2011. I'm here with Frederick Adamar from The Astonishing Tribe. Hi, Frederick. Hi.
It's like a scrapbooking application, but it's the idea behind the concept is to show the power of the platform, the Playbook, and the capabilities for multi-touch, advanced multi-touch, and the responsiveness of the platform. So you have like typically your I don't know, holiday photos, cute little puppy there, and just sort of scale and rotate. You can add various like stickers to it. Like a program there, this guy here doesn't really like the situation here.
So just a really nice scrapbook app. This again, just another example. But just goes to show you some of the really exciting stuff.
Back once again with Mike Kirkup, Director of Developer Relations, and he wanted to show me a new WebWorks app for Playbook that he just got. So Mike, walk us through it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been looking for some really compelling demos of applications on the Playbook to showcase the power and flexibility of WebWorks. And so we were working with the company that we acquired, The Astonishing Tribe, and some of the applications that they've been looking at, just more from a proof of concept of what's possible. So they created this application called Aura, which is quite perfect for me because I can actually control the weather as it's going. So you can see here we've got nice dynamic actual schedules as everything kind of comes in. But what's particularly cool as we move through is it's actually integrated right into the accelerometer. So you actually see all the transitions and the physics motion. And what's really cool about all of this is it's done entirely in web technologies. So it's a standalone application that they can use and build for, but fundamentally at the end of the day, they didn't have to learn anything about Air, they didn't have to learn anything about Java, they didn't have to learn anything about any native technologies. Everything is done automatically for them, and all their effort and hard work went into HTML5 and CSS.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point just to emphasize one last time, is that this was done in a very short period of time, about a week, entirely in HTML5 and CSS, and I suspect one of the things that will happen on this series over the next while is that we'll end up talking about native apps versus HTML5 apps and various different things like that. But this just goes to show you what you can do with HTML5, which is just, it looks amazing. It's a really, really nice app, really well done, and shows off the scope of what you can do for Playbook and for a whole bunch of different different tablet apps. But that's where we'll leave it for today. Thanks very much for watching. As always, you can find us at urbantravel.com as it suggests up here. You can leave a comment in the comment section or find us on Twitter. Elsewhere, all the details are on the YouTube page. So talk to you soon again.